What's up everyone? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to get outside of a certain hole to explore around Surfer's Paradise in Forza Horizon 3. But there's also a few interesting things about this place that I'll also explain. So let's get right to it. We are going to start near the Surfer's Paradise beauty spot, and you can use a small range of vehicles that will fit in this hole like the Fiat 595, the BMW Isetta, the older Mini Cooper, and the Jaguar D-Type. I'll go a little bit more detail about the D-Type later, so I'm going to be using my little Fiat to start off. All you need to do is to drive into this corner and that's it. After you cross the entrance, this is where you might want to have your rewind feature on to make sure you don't fall off the map and to speed up the process before you try this online. Now there's two directions you can get into the water. Most people would turn left, but I'm going to turn right through this wall because it's more of a scenic route. After you fly across multiple yards, you'll be able to see the water in front of you, and there's no special tricks to get into the water compared to the lake near Yarra Valley. The limitations of this area is pretty interesting since there's some random drop-offs near the top of the map, but mostly everywhere you see that has water inside the city you can drive to. If you try to drive out of the water, then in most cases you will fall off the map besides areas that are right next to bridges. Everything down below in the city is pretty easy to guess on where to drive around, so I'm not really going to talk about that besides the last bridge marked right here. If you try to drive underneath this bridge, then there's an invisible barrier that will make you pop out of this special place and you would have to start all over again. Now there's three things I want to mention before we venture out of this waterbed, and the first one is the Surfer's Bridge speed trap. You can actually trigger that camera underneath the bridge, so you better have your D-Type out for this. Then the second thing is something very intriguing to me. Now if you fell off the map and you hit the rewind button, you'll happen to see a line of lights underneath the map. These lights only trigger if you hit the rewind button or you roll back inside the replay mode. So either way, rolling back time will turn on these lights for a few seconds, and it's best to do it at nighttime. The third thing would have to be near the top of the map where the two boats are located. As you can see, the ground looks like it's cut off where you would fall, but there's actually ground there. To find where the real end of the map is, you would need to drive up at this incline until you see the water above you. If you follow that water until it cuts off, then right there is the real limit. If we backtrack for a second, I know that there will be people that want to ramp off this hill to see what's on the other side. I must warn you that if you do land anywhere in this highlighted area, then in most cases it will freeze your vehicle in mid-air. There's also a platform over there, and the best way to land on it is around 100 to 120 miles an hour. If you do land on this, then good luck finding your way back because it will be just easier to teleport back to the beauty spot and start all over again. However, there is some other areas you can explore that's outside of this waterbed. The two areas I want to highlight are both at the bridge where the speed trap is located. If we follow this route, then it'll split into two paths. You can either follow the edge of the barrier to your right, or you can take the walk path to your left. If you take the walk path, then I would try to stay on the concrete because the edges will make you fall off the map. Both paths will end right around the same area, so let's jump on back to the speed trap bridge because this last route is something very interesting. This route is what I consider the biggest path you can take outside of the normal game, and I would watch out for holes and solid walls along the way. I would personally choose a Jaguar D-Type for this because other vehicles of this caliber and acceleration would most likely have issues getting far into the map without falling quite a lot. This wall that we're coming up on is a massive roadblock because you just can't go through it. Not to mention that there's a 5 or 6 story invisible wall, so you can't jump it realistically either. But don't worry, there's another way around this massive roadblock, so we're going to backtrack it a bit to the lake that we just passed to jump into the water there. So you should try to follow my exact line in this video clip to go off the hill and make it over the invisible wall. I would also have your rewind button on the ready if you overshoot the jump or you smack the invisible wall. After you dodge a bunch of solid trees to make it up to the construction site, you can really get a good look at the other building in the background that you really don't see much of. There's also a reason why I stopped here, because there is 2 holes in the ground that you need to watch out for, and I would try to get close to the inside wall with some speed to make sure that you don't fall. If you manage to get past, you can go a long way without running into issues, and most of this area I haven't really ventured over to the right side, so that's something you guys can do in your own time. Here's a tip that I use to see if I can drive on it or not. I use the photo mode camera quite a lot to use the triggers up and down to see if I can actually hit the ground. If it goes through, that means you can't drive on top of it, which is pretty simple logic. Speaking about no ground, we're also about to run out of road for your vehicle in this video clip, and this is where the drone mode will come into play next. With drone mode, you can fly over to the edge of the freaking desert, which is pretty rad. Just think how far you can go if you wanted to in this video. I would also watch out on where you take this drone, because there's a lot of areas that will respawn you back to your vehicle if you fall into a hole and you can't get out. This is going to conclude this video that I've been messing around with for quite a while, and make sure to smash that like button if you thought this was pretty awesome, and I'll see you next time.